I like for you to know that this theme, I'd like to take credit for it, Stepping into Abundance 2024, but it wasn't my download. That was Dr. Ishnella's download. And I think it's a great download, Stepping into Abundance 2024. And you may be asking yourself the question, and I've had a couple people ask me this: how did this all happen? How did it come into play? And particularly because I've been saying to you that we are particularly interested in the African American market. Dr. Ishnella has a real heart to see an African American women come into this well, but that's not at the exclusion of Black men. It's not the exclusion of any party. So diversity, our diversity is valuing people the way we value ourselves. That's true diversity. It's not just to get numbers. All right, so here's what happened. I'm going to give you the fast version of how this all came into play, because it started 2 years ago, and I frequent a restaurant that's right across the street from where I live. And on this particular day, I was thinking about that restaurant, but I said, I don't want to go to that restaurant today. I'm tired of it. But I heard a small, still voice said, go to that restaurant today. I mean, literally, it was like that. And I'm kind of going under protest, going, why do I need to go to this restaurant today? But I obeyed. I walk into the restaurant. They all know me. It's like a neighborhood kind of restaurant. They all know me, and they start seating me where I always sit. And they start going, and you want the salmon salad, right? No, wait. So instead of sitting in the seat, the same still voice said, don't sit in that seat today. Sit in another seat. So I ended up sitting in another seat. And it was just a few minutes later that Dr. Ishnella walked into this restaurant. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She sat next to me. We engaged in a conversation, and she was talking about a lot of things that were kind of tickling my ear, because everything she was talking about are areas of my sweet spot in consulting and doing business consulting, everything. But I'm here in my exercise clothes, and I'm not really thinking business, but I'm I'm much of a business person to know is to make sure that I set a time where we talk about this, and that's what we did. The rest is history, because she engaged me as a business consultant for their firm, and we walked in and we did some thorough analysis, and I was very impressed with what they were doing. And through the time that we spent, I was questioning her about the demographics of her investors, because she originates from India, and of course, most of them were from India. And I asked the question, what about other minorities? And she said, well, we just need the right opportunity. And so the right opportunity just happened recently. And she was true to her passion to see this happen for African Americans. And she called me and said, I think this is the right time and opportunity. When I went and looked at it, I thought there was just a witness that this is right. And how can we make this work for many people that look like us? And so that's why we're here. Dr. Schnell, do you want to add anything to that story?
Okay, yes. So while you were being told to go to that restaurant, so hi everybody, my name is Dr. Ishnella Azad. I go by Ish. Ish is a little easier. So I literally went to lunch 20 minutes away, and Sandra knows I never take lunch. I work straight through till 7, 8 o'clock at night. So it's unusual I go to lunch. I went to somewhere like 20 minutes away. I pulled up and something told me, no, you're not supposed to be here. And I was like, I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I started driving, and I didn't know where I was going. And I literally drove to 4 or 5 different places, past them, and something told me to go to Barnaby's across the street from where Sandra lives. I had not been there in probably a year and a half. I go in there, it's lunchtime. I'm expecting it's going to be full. The place was empty. Only, three people, four people were in there. And Sandra was sitting at this little two-top against the wall. There was one other little two-top next to her. Every other table was vacant for the most part. So that I go in, the guy's like, you want to sit down? I said, yeah, sure. And I look around, not knowing why I'm there, and I see her. And I did the weirdest, most bizarre thing. I went to her, I walked, sidled up next to her, sat down 6 inches away from her at the two-top right next to her. I have never done that in my entire life. And for some reason, I just struck up a conversation. I've never done that either. So that's what happened. I got there, we started talking, and it was the weirdest thing. I just started talking about what I wish I could do and where I need help and how much I wanted and needed to learn and to improve and get better. And I had no idea I was talking to a coach. And within about 10 minutes, I had this very unique, interesting experience from within that told me I was meant to meet Sandra. And I was meant to listen and learn from Sandra and to have an open mind and open spirit and to see what could happen. Sandra then came in, and Monsi as well, I met her, and we learned as a team together. I went from being unsure, insecure, not knowing what my vision was going to be, but knowing I had something I was meant to do. And I knew that I wanted to bring something that was unique to minorities because I was tired of having been the only woman of color in a room. We have over $1 trillion in America that is invested where money makes money. 98.6% of that money is invested and controlled by white men, and specifically about 5 different fraternities. And it is generational and it is nepotistic. If you don't know the right people, you're not even allowed in the building, let alone in the room. So I know how hard it's been for me for 2 decades to get in that room and to have power in that room now. And I do not want to continue the status quo. I want to bring abundance and equal opportunity to all, especially us minorities. And it's only what I've seen as we bind and together that we form a network, a web, so to speak, of mesh that is strong as steel together, that we can actually, the image you see right there is the last shopping center I just did. That is one of the largest and the most preeminent shopping centers in the state of Alabama. I'm one of the largest landlords right now in the state of Alabama. That's called the Shops at East Chase. It is phenomenal. It's beautiful. It's the belle of the ball in Alabama.
I'd like to, Dr. Ishnella, I'd also, if I could just pause you right now,
Sure.
because one of the things, before we get into the facilities, one of the things that Dr. Ishnella has recently been named, I believe you were the foremost, one of the foremost commercial real estate moguls in the nation now. That wasn't just being a legend in her own mind, but that was in a recent newspaper article, right?
Yeah, I've
Who
had
is that by?
good press. God has favored me and has been pretty amazing to me. I was also named top C-suite female in real estate as well.
Some really impressive credentials. I'm putting up very quickly, you can find contact information, portfolio, current investments, portals. And if you've already done your homework, you've been to their site. And I want to just point that out. let's briefly talk about this wealth transfer because that is going to be somewhat of the mantra that we're talking about, and people will understand it and some won't. But we want to, for those of you that are here, definitely want to talk about that. Robert Kiyosaki, and you know, he's the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he says one of the most life destroying words of all is the word tomorrow. And I say that now because we have entered the season of wealth transfer. And so what we're talking about is not waiting till next year. We're talking about moving with some sense of urgency. And I love that about Dr. Ishnella, that she is a person that moves with a sense of urgency. We're never in a rush, but we always are meaningful and intentional in our timelines. So, what is the wealth transfer? What are the experts saying? The experts are saying to be a part of this wealth transfer, whether they're talking about the wealth transfer of the boomers into the younger generations. So, that's more of the experts, the economic experts. But there is also a spiritual wealth transfer. The wealth of the wicked laid up for the just. We're seeing that the wicked things are kind of falling apart, not kind of, they're falling apart. Well, that wealth is coming into the hands of the righteous. And so we stand in line and ready. Investing in yourself, how you're getting information, how you training yourself. The experts are saying that's very important, being prepared for the wealth transfer. So what we're doing here is part of that preparation. They're saying investing in cash flow assets. Now, Dr. Ishnella is going to drill down on this concept and how this concept is supported with this particular outdoor mall. But they're saying invest in assets that generate cash flow, such as real estate, because it provides a steady stream of income that is not taxable. And she's going to talk more about that. We're also hearing that the wealth transfer is for people that are staying invested for the long term. It can be beneficial. The statistic that they cite is that in 2008 recession, the people who remained saw a 6.7% over the following decade. So they were in there for the long term. And that's what this type of investment is about. And that's wealth transfer knowledge. So, we're going to talk about inviting people to the table, and I'm going to go over a little bit of this inviting people to the table. And we're doing this before you get some of the nuts and bolts because you're inviting people to the
Sandra?
table. Yes. Go ahead.
You paused for a bit. Okay, you unfroze.
Okay, are we good? Okay, so I want to talk about who are we looking for, because many of you are going to be influencers, not necessarily just investors. And so I want to talk about people to the table without the benefit of some of the other information that Dr. Ishnella is going to bring. So I'm going to go through this briefly. So if we look at a cash flow quadrant, there are going to be people that have a job. Doesn't mean that they don't have investment dollars, but they're not going to generally be the target. There are people who are self-employed and they own a job, and they have some leverage, but a lot of times people have businesses that are not doing well and they're still trying to get to that profitable place. They may not be the people that we're looking at as well. There are people that own a system and they have people that work for them. They're business owners. That could be a quadrant that we want to look at, but it definitely depends on their cash flow. But here's the quadrant. Look at the money works for you. That's the investor crowd. That's the quadrant that we're looking for, that investor crowd. And so there's going to be some cherry picking. Now, I want to give you a few ideas of the kind of information we need to gather of the people that we're bringing to the table. And we will talk about how that information is disseminated to Dr. Ishnella. We're definitely going to need name and position titles. We're going to need to know their website, their LinkedIn. And in just a moment, I'm going to give you kind of a mock kind of script of what you say to them. You want to do a wrist temperature. I'm going to talk to you how you say that. We, of course, want all of their contact information. And we want to know if they're an accredited investor. They will know what that means. Dr. Ishnella will talk about what that means as well. College education is seemingly, that's not to exclude someone that's high school, but we see that in that 40 plus college educated, they're typically are going to be the people that we want to invite to the table. They could be the owner of a business. They could, for instance, own a gas station. And so we don't want to exclude them, even though they're in a different quadrant, because they could have heavy loads of cash and they just haven't known how to invest it. They're people that we definitely want to invite to the table. And I want to point out number 13, because one of the things that Dr. Ishnella has educated me on is that the STEM professionals, the STMMs, science, technology, engineering, what else?
Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, especially a lot of your doctors, your anybody in that universe, engineers, architects, anybody within mathematics, especially the girls, they tend to make a lot of money, but don't know how to or where to invest.
So they could be a target for us, charity focused individuals. Now, once you have identified these are people in your circle that could be invited to the table, of course, there's going to be compensation, which we will talk about what that compensation looks like. Because again, this is making the wealth equitable. So we are not just in it just for ourselves, but to see other people win as well. And that's what this system is designed to do. So, what should you say to potential investors? And I'm going to give you just some quick overview. You can take pictures of this and we can drill down on it later because I want to turn this over to Dr. Ishnella. But let's say that this somebody that you know, so you don't really have to do rapport building. They know you, they have a certain confidence in you that you're not going to just bring something to the table that's not worth their effort and time. So, you're starting with a discovery and a couple of questions about their investment. Now, I'm a big believer that before you start asking me questions, you ask permission to ask. It just gains that trust and say, hey, can I just ask you a couple questions? Because I want to better understand if I have some valuable information for you. And so, one of the questions would be, have you embraced any alternative investment classifications? And tell me about them, and you're taking notes. So what are their alternative investment classifications? And you may hear bonds. Dr. Ishnella, give us some examples of the types of investments that they will typically hear here when they ask that question.
So you can ask, hey, where do you invest? How do you make money? Right? I know you have a job, I know you have a company, but how does your money make money? So that could be stocks and bonds, your S&P 500. That could be treasury bonds, municipal bonds. That could be mutual funds. That could be gold and silver. That could be different types of real estate, land, whether it's income producing real estate. So there's multifamily, industrial, office, mixed use. So there's lots of different places to invest your money. And I'll talk to you about why commercial real estate is very unique and that it's one of the only ones that's completely tax-free.
Yeah, and we'll drill down on that in just a moment, but just get an idea of how you're getting this conversation. I know some of you are particularly interested in what do I say to these high net worth individuals. They trust me, but I want to at least be able to talk comfortable to them. Another question you can ask them, and a very, very important question that will be provided to Dr. Ishnella. When considering investments, would you classify yourself in one of these categories? No risk, small risk, medium risk, high reward, high risk, outstanding reward. So just get a feel for where they are. It's not prohibitive to them investing in this, but going into it, we'll know. Any questions about this process so far? Okay, so we got some discovery questions you can ask, and now we're going to introduce a concept. So, a couple things that you can say with a certain level of confidence is that they may be aware, depending on how savvy they are, that real estate has become a trending investment option because it's less correlated to the stock market. Now, what does that mean to me? Because if you're talking to someone that may be less savvy, that's like, what does that mean to me? It means that if the stock market is doing what it's doing, pulling back, whatever it's doing, that has little or no impact to a real estate investment. And that's good to know. And that's why it's trending. And that's why it's important that they're coming to the table to talk real estate investments, which Dr. Ishnella will drill down on some details there. And I put a little information here that, because I don't know if any of you have heard of Blackstone, but they've recently been in the news. There's players like, is it Cohen and Steers, Dr. Ishnella?
Yeah, there's a few players in the room.
Yeah, so there's some big players, but it's important that they understand that we know that there's some big influential players, but what we're about to introduce to them is a concept based on a boutique firm. And we're now ready to introduce them to a boutique real estate firm whose history has been unparalleled in the industry, whose CEO is now being heralded as the premier upcoming mogul in commercial history in the nation. And they have a very disciplined process, and they've been winning for some 20 plus years. That's what we're about to say to you. They're not the biggest. We're not trying to be the biggest. But now we're seeing that some Blackstones are now getting into cash flow issues because they become too big. So they've got more loan than they have cash. That's not the case here with Five Rivers, and Dr. Ishnella will do that. Now, I'm not going to go over this because she'll go over this, but you have this in the deck. So they say, well, tell me some more about this boutique firm. They've owned and managed shopping centers for over 28 years. It's been profitable. They have 13 centers, 3.8 million square feet. They've collected and invested over 200 million. They now own 555, and she's going to tell you the 5-year goal because they'll be in the billions here shortly. There's more in that. You can read that. I don't want to just read to you, but this shows how much square feet, where it is. 50 million in rents from 400 tenants. And they now have 400 active investment partners. So that's a very strong story to tell. And let me highlight this. They are distributing $1.25 million every month. And in looking at this, most companies are distributing this quarterly. The big guys, that's what they do quarterly. They said, no, we're not going to wait. We're not going to have our investors wait quarterly. We pay them every month. And they're now doing 1.25 every month. The numbers aren't lying. So the call to action. What is the call to action for people you're inviting to the table? You've been given the opportunity to invite people like yourself to the table to see for yourself why this firm has grown from 30 to 400 investors in a short time. I want to invite you to take a closer look at their most recent purchase, which is the largest outdoor mall in the state of Georgia. And this opportunity will close on January 31st. So the opportunity is now, not later. But I want to invite you to the table to see it.
Yes. So many people have not heard of Fayetteville. Fayetteville is 11 miles from the ATL airport. It is a very wealthy, it's now become a wealthy part of Atlanta. It has grown phenomenally in the last 4 to 5 years because the largest movie studio in North America, Trillet Studios, where they do all the Marvel and Avenger movies, is shot there 5 miles away from where the shopping center is. And then another company just came in to buy another 110 acres to do more with and to actually build restaurants and high residential living, because now so much money is coming into the area. At Fayette Pavilion, and I'll show you a video of it, it is not unusual to be there on a Saturday and Sunday and see movie stars because they all live and they all shop there when they're shooting. So it is now becoming a new almost Hollywood, if you will, and Beverly Hills-esque area because of what's been happening there in the last 3 years.
Excellent. So I'm gonna that's just new news, but Dr. Schnell, if you'll talk us through what this investment is about. We're giving you overview now. When you invite people to the table, they're going to get even more detailed drill down, but we're giving you an overview, and hopefully that will translate into more invitations to the table. Okay.
Yep. So let me tell you, so Sandra, thank you for setting this up. And everybody here, thank you so much for taking very busy time out of your schedule to be here to join us and to give your listening, which is the most precious gift you can give anybody, which is your time. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why are we even interested in this? I'm interested in wealth equity, then wealth inclusion, leading to wealth transfer. I want an equality of everybody here becoming first rich and then wealthy. Well, why? And being rich and being wealthy is not a bad thing. It's a good thing because the more money you have, the more you can give to charity, the more good you can do in the world, the more ability you have to help other people. That's a good thing. But if you don't have the resources, how do you help other people and help the world? So we started this about 28 years ago. I went to medical school first, became a doctor. I had started this real estate company when I was in college thinking, I can make some quick money. No, real estate's a slow game. So took the student loans, went to medical school, was a neuropsychiatrist at UCLA and Cedars-Sinai. This company continued to grow. I did both jobs for a long time. Thus, we became a boutique real estate firm. When it got too successful, I quit medicine and started doing this full time. So that's our office. We have a huge Victorian in the oldest neighborhood in Houston, Texas. It's incredibly prestigious. We're very blessed. Truly, it comes from God. We are very blessed to have become successful, not through ourselves. We are simply a product of our people, and I have everybody. We started with the first 30, which were Indians. Now I have Vietnamese, Cambodian. I have Europeans. I actually have several African Americans. I've got every race and religion you can think of, but it's a smattering here and there. And what I really want to do is take our boutique family investment and asset management firm and bring that cohesiveness of disparate people and groups to grow and build each other. How do we do that? We do that through real estate. Typically, what Sandra is showing you is these are all the different types of investments that are possible right now to make money. So you make money in your job and then where do you do with it? You put it in a CD. Okay, that's going to net you a little bit, but you got to pay taxes on it. You buy municipal bonds, treasury bonds. Okay, but you got to pay some taxes on it. You invest in the S&P 500, stock bonds, muni bonds, treasury bonds. You invest in, so not only stocks and bonds, but say you go into high yield or small yield bonds, or you do mutual funds. Okay, but you got to pay taxes on that. People don't talk about that. The largest thing that most people do in the realm of real estate is they buy basically what's called a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Those are large public companies. They pay out dividends a few times a year, and you typically make anywhere from 6 to 8%. That shows right now that 11.2% has been the most successful, except in the last 4 to 5 years, that has been minimized down to 4%. And then you pay taxes on that. So if you look at every single number here, the highest was 11.2, but as I said, in the last half a decade, that's now 4 or 5%. Then 10%, The average S&P in the last 100 years has been 9.5%. But on all of these, you have to pay taxes. Well, how much? If you have it for less than 2 years, you pay your income tax rate, which for somebody who has the money to be able to invest in these is usually 35 to 37% of every penny you make. If you have something that you hold for longer than 2 years, you pay 20%. But that's Uncle Sam taking your cash. So why us? We do commercial real estate. It's the only investment class that allows appreciation, meaning the value of the property and the land below it increases in time. But most important, it's the only investment that allows depreciation. That's something that the federal government allows you to say, I'm going to write off all the income I make, so I don't end up paying any taxes. Why? Because if you own a shopping center, but you generate 100 jobs, the federal government gets to tax all those people. So therefore, you get the benefit of not having to pay any taxes. Okay, so what does that translate to? So you often ask, okay, Sandra was very kind and talked about how we are successful. We've been successful. We started 28 years ago. We buy a property, you hold it for a number of years, whether it's 5, 7, or 10 years. When you dispose of that property, you have made money every month along all of those years. We don't do preferred payout. We don't do a waterfall, meaning some people get paid first or some people get paid more. We believe in equality. The current project I have right now, which is Fayette Pavilion, I got to spend 46 million divided by 100. 1% is 460,000. What Sandra is showing you right now is our track record. People usually say, how do I know how they're going to do now? And how do I know how they're going to do in the future? Well, sometimes the best evidence of how you're going to do, a predictor of the future, is your past track record. This is our track record of every single property we have held and sold. When we bought it, how much we paid for it, how much we actually distributed in cash, what we sold it for, and how much profit was made. If you look at all of these, and you're going to get this, our average return per year of the hold period, whatever length of time we held it and then sold it, was 31% profit per year. And no taxes were paid on that. None. All of that money stays in your pocket, and then you get to reinvest it. Overall, our portfolio, so somebody says, well, what's your multiplier? We made sure that if you invested $1 with us, you got 386% profit over that whole time. That is phenomenal returns. And again, only because of God. We actually outperform Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett because we've done a very diligent job in finding that needle in a haystack. And because we do one type of investment and only one type of investment. So we are experts at it. We buy large 200,000 to 500,000 square foot outdoor shopping centers. When you see an Academy, a Home Goods, a Best Buy, a Michaels, a Ross Dress for Less, a Hobby Lobby, that's our bread and butter. We have 7 Ross Dress for Lesses. I got 8 Michaels. And when you have a large enough portfolio, I can get those suckers to have higher rent, and I can control the bills that they pay, which is like all of the bills, all the common area maintenance. So these are some examples. I've got Target as tenants. I've got, you name it, I've got them as tenants. This is Spring Hill. This is in Nashville. This is the Shops of East Chase. This is our latest one that we've done. That there's both a big plaza, big box anchor tenants, and a boutique area where every Saturday morning there's a farmer's market. On Friday nights, there's movie nights. So we have the gamut. We have your really large You pull up, it's just big box anchor tenants. That means 30,000 square feet and up. And we have these boutique type places where you spend the day. You get your hair cut, you go to the movies, you go to a restaurant or hang out at the bar, you go get so it's soft goods. People say, well, the internet is eating our lunch. What do you need shopping centers for? Everything you want is at the internet. You can get online. No, that's not accurate. How do you go get a haircut online? How do you go and hang out and see a movie or go and have dinner with your friends online? You can't. People will say, well, hey, there's so many shopping centers. How do you know? What happens if somebody moves out? Then you got a vacancy. Because of the recession that happened in 2008, the developers who typically develop these shopping centers didn't develop. We missed an entire, they go in periods of time. We missed an entire period of time that one would develop shopping centers. So what does that mean? There's not that much out there to actually rent. So therefore, when Tuesday Morning or Bed Bath & Beyond blew out, within 2 months, I had all of those centers backfilled with higher paying tenants. So why would you invest in us? Because some of what I'm talking about, we have a track record of 28 years. We started as family. We then grew to aunts, uncles, cousins, our church members, and then we started taking it outward. We have never advertised, not once. I just got a website 2 years ago, actually about 1.5 years ago. We grew to 4.2 million square feet, currently 438 investors by happy customers, word of mouth. That's it. Because if I made somebody money, they told a coworker or a friend or family member, and they wanted in as well. So we've organically grown. That's how I like doing things. I don't go out I don't advertise anywhere. I want friends and family to talk about how they're happy with it, and we'll grow. The other thing is that we are experts in that one thing we do. We have over 200 plus years of experience in what we do, because everybody I hired was 30 years experience here, 25 years, and they were all heads of divisions of other companies. I have rated every large company in the Southeast. Now just hired my newest COO from Chicago, from Blackstone, actually. I'm pulling from the big guys now. So we are always upping our game. So when we look at a shopping center, how do we figure out this is what we want? Okay, where's it located? Near a major metropolitan area. Chicago, it's not Chicago, Nashville. We have New Orleans. We have, where else? Atlanta. We've got, you name it. So if it's outside of a major city, and I buy about 30 to 50 miles outside of a major city, so the dirt is cheaper, it's a suburb area or an ex-burb area, which is about 50 miles. It tends to pull, because it's 200,000 to 500,000 square feet, tends to pull from an area of about 20 miles wide, because I usually buy the gorilla in the market so that we have preeminent buying power. And that way we have shoppers with a strong employment base who come to us repetitively to get their shopping needs met. And therefore we make a lot of money for our investors, and I know that we will have great returns. We look probably a year for every single property we end up buying. So we are very selective in what we do. Why? Because our word is our bond. I have to have integrity and take care of my investors. When I started 28 years ago, my investors were like 50. I still have them. Now they're in their 80s, and they have a low risk tolerance because they can't make more money in their 80s. But I've got their children now who are in their 50s. I've got their grandchildren now who are in their 20s and 30s. Every summer, I got 2 kids coming this summer who intern with me. So it's a long-term generational thing. So I know that this builds generational wealth because I have those generations with me. I see the wealth. I see their weddings, their funerals, the mansions, the second and third homes that they buy because of this process. Transparency, I do the accounting, I do the Schedule K1s. Our books are open to everybody and anybody. 3 to 4 times a year, I have an open house. I do about 12 to 15. I stop at different cities all over the country where I have 10 or more people, and I talk to them about, okay, where are you invested in? Let's show you what's going on with your money. I invite people to come and tour the centers with me, because I want them to stomp on the ground and know they own that dirt and they own every bit of that dirt that makes money. Okay, so what are we doing now? Fayette Pavilion. It's the largest shopping center in the state of Georgia. It's the busiest shopping center. It is also one of the most profitable shopping centers because of that. It is 1.1 million square feet. And I know it's hard to kind of wrap your head around that. But basically, imagine the largest shopping center you've seen and times it by 5. You never see a shopping center that within the domain of the shopping center itself has a Home Depot, a Super Walmart, and a Super Target, and a Publix grocery store. So 3 groceries. You also have 26 national corporate big box tenants. Why is that important? It means that you could no tenant is larger than about 5% of this 1.1 million square feet. So you could lose 1, 2, 3 tenants. It ain't gonna affect the bottom line. It's not even gonna basically move the needle. It makes money. It's so big. These are some of the tenants that are there. These are all national tenants that you see commercials for all the time. Those tenants do their own commercials. They do their own advertising. They drive the customers to the center. It doesn't cost you or the other investors a single penny to make money because you have all these tenants who are pushing the customers and driving foot traffic and car traffic to it. So it's like a wealthy area of whatever area you're from. Think about, it's like when I went, there's a Tesla dealership at the front of the center. Every car you see there is a Mercedes, a Tesla, a Land Rover, a Jaguar, a BMW, you name it. Lots of buying power. Because it's one-stop shopping. It pulls from almost 30 miles away because there's no other place in Atlanta that has this level of one-stop shopping, because you can hit all the stores you want in one go. So this appeals because it's low risk. Why is it low risk? If you look at the center picture, that's the center. It's massive. It's 106 acres between the largest 2 highways in that area of Georgia. So what is shopping centers, commercial real estate, all about? Okay, the only thing you can't make more of in our lives is time. The only thing you can't make more of on the planet is land. If you have land that is already surrounded by valuable things, the land value goes up. Okay, so this is a land play, but we do it by borrowing money and buying an income producing property. That property produces more income than the cost of the mortgage that we are paying. And that's called, we put money down. We don't put all money. We put down 1/3 of the value of the property. That gives us leverage because we use a little bit of our money. We pull together 100 people, 1% at a time, sometimes 200 people, 0.5% at a time, and we purchase it together. This property, if you look here, the first mortgage is going to be $94 million. We're going to take it from Starwood Mortgage Company. They are also, they own Lamar Mortgage Company, which is the largest residential mortgage company in the country. Starwood, their head of their commercial mortgage, their lending, the department, was literally in my office when we got the call that we won this, we were awarded this project from the Teachers Fund. We beat out 15 other institutions that wanted this product. That's God. It makes no sense that we
That
got
is
that.
good.
It's crazy that we got that. Because even all the other, I got called. People were angry that a family business got this. And they were like, how? And I said, because how do you take down an elephant? One tiny bite at a time. You got 100 people, you can take that elephant down. So the net price of this was 136 million, but I got them down to 124. I actually, because the interest rates went up a bit, I've actually squunched this down a little bit more. So if you look down where it says the total annual cash, ROI means return on investment. So basically, you put money down, you get a percentage of what you put down back every single year. It actually, because the interest rates went up, I negotiated with them that the higher the interest rates go up, the sales price is going down. So now that 8.6% has now jumped to 9.2% per year. Cash every month in ACH to your account, tax free. So if you were paying tax on this, it's akin to you making about 14%. There is no other investment out there that right now you can do that with. Commercial real estate, whether you do it with us or you do it with somebody else, is the best way to grow your wealth. How? Okay, go back, Sandra, to that slide you were just on. Okay, so this is the pie, because people need to understand it conceptually. There's multiple sections of the pie you can make money on in commercial real estate. And when I say commercial, what that means is income producing real estate. We do retail shopping centers because there's almost no labor involved. I can have one property manager do up to 1 million square feet. Well, why? Because a big box anchor tenant is floor to roofing system, middle wall to middle wall. Everything in the inside of the store, they pay for, they take care of. We as owners have to pay for mowing the land, doing the landscaping, trash removal, and electricity of the common areas. But we don't even have to pay for that. We pay the bills during the month. But at the end of the year, I get to bill back all of that to the corporate tenants. So they cover, your tenants pay their insurance, pro rata share, they pay the pro rata share of the taxes, and they pay the pro rata share of all of the maintenance and repairs on the property. There's no expenses for the owners then, and it's all tax-free. So if you look here, the blue section is distributions. That's what we pay out every single month to our investors. And we pay it equally. I personally, my family, we put down the cash. We buy 20% of every single shopping center that we manage. I got skin in the game. If that shopping center doesn't make money, I don't make money. So therefore, I have something at risk. So when my investors are investing, they know that if that company or that center takes a hit, I take the biggest hit of them all because my money, 20% of it is in that shopping center. Okay, so you've got distributions, tax-free during the life of the shopping center. Then you have money that's sitting with, like your house mortgage. You got money sitting with the lender. So you've got the principal pay down that you've been paying every month with the interest, but you also have to have, when you have tenants move in, you have to build them out. It's called tenant improvement. So every Best Buy has to look like every other Best Buy in the country. We do that. Leasing commissions. This real estate is a pay-to-play game. You got to pay the leasing agents to bring those tenants to you. So that's the cash with the property and cash with the lender, those escrowed amounts. Okay, then you have the price appreciation, and you have all the money you're gonna, when you buy a house and you sell it, you usually sell it for higher than what you bought it for. So that equity difference is what you have at the end. And if you buy it right, you've placed it, location, 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 it shoots up in equity. So here you see that what you originally bought it for was we borrowed the 94, but we put $46 million down. That's that lower denominator at the bottom. So when we put the $46 million down, that's the down payment, we will distribute $54 million during the life of this project. We will get back about $4.5 million sitting cash with the lender and the property. We will then have a price appreciation, and this is extremely conservative. I always under promise, because if I can under promise and then I over deliver, I look like a rock star and my investors are happy. And then it snowballs and I get more investors. So I always under promise. Under promising, this property is going to appreciate by almost 82 million. So if you take all the money that it's going to make divided by what we originally put down, that's how you get over 300% return. So it's $46 million down payment, equal opportunity. I just divide it by 100. Everybody pays the exact same amount. It's 460,000 for 1%. I want everybody to take part in this. 0.5% for 230, 0.25% for 115. I will even go down, it's not on here, but I will go down to 0.125%. And that is 57,500. Because I want people to take part. Okay, so what if somebody doesn't have that?
If we could take a pause here, I think we have some questions.
Sure.
I want to be respectful of the time commitment that everybody's given to this. And there are some questions in the chats, and there may be some other questions. Okay. And then we certainly want to cover this.
No, investors can live anywhere they want. They can be from all over the country, do not have to live in Georgia. How did investments hold up during COVID? They did really well during COVID. We did not lose a single tenant. That is, okay, this is where I do get to brag. I don't have a single colleague in other companies that can make this claim. I kept, at that time, I had 300 tenants. I didn't have to give away any free rent, called abatement. I worked with each of them. They could pay a 10th and a 10th and a 10th until they caught up. We didn't lose a single tenant during COVID. In fact, because we did that with them, we gained goodwill, and they've all remained with us no matter what. So COVID was actually really good for us, thankfully. Okay.
Okay, so, I'm going to open the line for other questions now that you might have. This is time for us to drill down on the details. So anything that's let's start out, because I know this question keeps coming to me. So to bring somebody to the table, what's the minimum amount they will need to have to be a part of this project, to invest?
So typically I would like to go, because 0.25%, 115,000.
Now, the 8% is, because I've talked about that, and that's on some of our documents. Is that going to happen or no?
Yeah, because it's brand new and I really want in the market, and I want everybody to, so we will make a new sheet for this and send it to you guys. So 0.125% would be 57,500. So yes, we'll go down to 0.125%.
Okay, so that would be an initial investment dollar. What are you typically seeing? Or let's talk about high rollers, people savvy. What do they typically do in the amounts?
2 to 3%. So
2 to 3%.
Yeah. So we're talking about $1.5 million. $1.5 million. Y'all would make 3% of that commission if you're getting somebody in the room and they invest. Okay. Because I want to say thank you. It is
so what would 3%? what would 3% be on that? Anybody with quick math minds?
So if somebody bought 2%, that's $1 million, 3% would be 30,000.
That's what you would make bringing them to the table.
Yes. And as soon as we close that same day, I have ACH'd 30,000 sent to you guys immediately.
So you're not waiting.
Nope.
Real money.
Yeah, because it's the least y'all are due because you guys helped.
And I will get nobody has this document now, but you completed it, and it states all of the particulars on how that referral fee is paid. And I just want to go back to that, to your value of integrity. Dr. Ishnella, I've been working with her. Nobody has to worry about you going to provide information and not get paid. That's just not going to happen.
No,
We
my name would be mud if I
and
did.
mine too. So I want you to come to the table feeling like you're dealing with integrity, or don't come to the table.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Johnny, you have a question.
Actually, I think I saw Kyra was first. If you want to go,
Oh,
Kyra.
go ahead, Kyra.
Thank you very much. Thank you also, Dr. Ishnella, for really breaking this down. Thank you, Sandra, and my colleagues on the line. I have a couple questions. I'm going to go back probably a little bit. Question one that I have is, in terms of the down payment and funds, is the fundraising that we're doing to actually acquire those dollars to solidify the funds for the down payment? That's my first question.
Yes. So we're the sponsors. I'm required to keep, my net worth has to be $100 million, and I have to have 20 to 50 million liquid at all times. So that way, if we don't meet the down payment, I can always just pony up the cash. But that limits me because I have to keep enough cash liquid for the next successive projects. So yes, it's certainty of close. Two, we have to win the bid, and then the stopwatch starts. Typically, when we win the bid to when we close is about 60 to 90 days. And that's when we start have to collect all the money to purchase it.
Okay, that was one of my second, or part A of my second question, which was how long has this deal been in origination? I'm getting some early questions from folks to want to understand where they are in the deal. And is there a hierarchy of those that are already capitalizing on the deal in advance?
No hierarchy at all. It's equal serve, equal come. Like I usually do first come, first serve. I let everybody know at the beginning what's going on. We've been dealing with this since November. So just a month and a half ago. And we've basically been getting it online. I've got about 25, 30%, about 35% left. I would like to sell out so I don't have to use my capital because I've already got a couple projects in the pipeline going forward. And that way I can keep it going for all of our investors. So okay. There's no, whoever gets to me first gets it.
Okay, my last question, and thank you all for yielding to me, is the purchase of the land as well as all of the leases?
Everything.
Great question.
You own that dirt. When somebody is an investor, I will take them to that project. You stomp on that land. You own 1% of that land. You own 1/8, right? That is yours. You get everything that comes with it.
Good questions.
Those are the questions for now. Thank you.
Good questions. Dr. Johnny?
Yeah, I just want to get clarity. I heard two amounts. Just want to be clear. On the initial investment, I heard 57K and I heard 115K. Which one is it?
So to my current investors, I only went to 1/4. But because I want the community, I want to enter the African American community to start showing that it's possible to build us and grow us bigger, I will go down to 1/8, which I haven't done before. And that would be half of that 115, so 57.5.
Okay. Thank you.
Good clarification. Thank you. Dr. Lori, I think you have a question.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I was going to ask about the dates that the funds would need to be paid. I just wanted to get clear because I saw in the presentation, you said that there was a closing on January 31st. So that's when you're closing on this loan and on your portion. And so the funds to you need to be sent by what date?
Yes, so we send it in to title. So typically I will get the money 1 week before we close. I got to go to title. This one was the teachers fund wanted us to close on January 19th, but I've been able to kick the can down the road, so to speak, until the end of January. So by 5 days before January 31st or so, I need the cash in. If I don't get it, I can stretch it to the 31st. I'll just have a little egg on my face, but they're gonna wanna close, so it's not a problem. So I would say deadline, I gotta have the cash in hand by January 31st.
Great clarifying question. Thank you, Dr. Lori. I think Carolyn, you have your hand raised.
Yes, Dr. Sandra. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Ish, regarding, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I, I want to make sure. So if you're explaining this process to a seasoned investor who may be interested, are there any uh, how would I say, rules regarding SEC that you could potentially get in trouble with when you're explaining this since they're investing their funds? How does
Yes,
that work?
so that's why you want to ask the question, are they an accredited investor? If
Okay.
they are a savvy investor, if they've been an investor before, they'll know what that means. But let me tell you. So if you net worth is worth more than $1 million, you cannot count your house. If you have a net worth more than $1 million, you're an accredited investor. If you make individually more than 200,000 a year, you're an accredited investor. If you and your spouse together make 300,000 or more, you're an accredited investor.
Okay. So if the individual tells you that they're not an accredited investor, then those are the ones we don't want to.
No, it's still okay
It's
because
still okay.
I
All
can
right.
take up to 34 non-accredited investors per deal. I typically never get there. I get maybe 14 or 17 because I am very acutely aware. So if you have somebody who wants to invest and they're not accredited, you can still send them my way because I can take up to 34 of them.
Okay. All right.
These are great questions, by the way, guys. I want to dovetail to that question in terms of fiduciary responses. If there's some stay away questions, comments, or things that should not be said based on fiduciary responses, is there anything, Dr.
Yes.
Ishnella?
So
Yes.
this is not a CD. There is no guaranteed income of this dollars and this cents per month. You can say an estimated amount. It's 3,300. We estimate that our investors are going to make $3,300 per month for a 1% share. That equals to be just under 40 grand a year. I know that I have enough depreciation. So what is depreciation? The roof's the roof's gonna last 30 years. They let me write off the value of that roof, however many millions, 1/30th every single year. There's so many things on a building, they each have different schedules of time. So for the first 7 to 8 years of a project, there's no taxes. It's 40 every single year. The last 2 years, there might be, okay, on 40 grand, you might have 2,000 that is taxable. They have a 30% income rate tax on the 2,000 that is taxable. They'll pay about maybe $800 in taxes that year on 40 grand. That's how you make money in the real estate realm. And then when we sell the project, every penny you make on the end, and you own that dirt. So when there's equity build, You own that 1% of improvement, of higher equity. All of the sales proceeds, no taxes, as long as you flip it into a project that is also income producing.
Okay,
I have two other questions.
go
Would that
ahead.
be
Go
okay?
ahead.
Dr. Ish, also, second question regarding, let's see, regarding so say I tell one individual and then they invest and then they tell other individuals, will I receive a percentage just on the initial person I spoke, or will I receive a percentage off of the persons that they tell? How does that work?
So you will receive a percentage on who they tell, but just who they tell. So it can't be like it's a pyramid that it goes on and on and on and on. If you
Okay.
have direct interaction with somebody and then they tell one person belong farther down the road, you will make a percentage, and that's listed in the referral.
Okay. All right. And
So instead of your 3%, you would basically make 1%, and then on whoever they do. So if they are then sending it to somebody, that's 3% that they would get. I will pay you an extra 1% to have furthered that along.
okay. All right. And final question. How does this work if you're telling an individual, so if I share this with an individual or individuals and they try to go around.
They can't.
So,
You tell me everybody you've shared with. I have everybody fill out a registration piece of paper. On that registration form, I ask them, how did you find out about it? What is the person's name? And what is their contact information? So you tell me who you've been talking to. I'll have a list. I can show you guys that list, and you say, this person belongs to me, that person belongs to me.
okay, so that's in essence like a non-circumventional agreement.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay, okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Great. These are great questions. Anybody else? Any
Really
other
good stuff.
questions? Any hands up that I've missed? Great questions. Great questions.
And
Anybody?
I know I go on because I know I'm very passionate about this, because I want everybody to get rich. I love that idea. I don't want people paying taxes if they don't have to. I would much rather have the 30 to 35% that you're going to pay into the federal government in your own pocket, and you make money on that money.
If I could just talk about a couple logistics in terms of you have somebody that can come in with the minimum. We've clarified that that minimum is 57.5, which is unprecedented. She's never done that before, but they can own an eighth of a share at 57.5. They want to come to the table. They're ready to write the check. Dr. Ishnella, if we could just talk about what that looks like. And then I want to talk about the 2 live events that we're proposing, and you can invite them to those 2 live events and want to explain what those live events will be about, because you can get paid on those people that attend.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're ready to write the check. What do they do?
So this is the ACH. We can't take a physical check just because it will take forever for us to get it in the mail and to cash it. So because we need to then directly wire it to this title company, we prefer the direct wiring in. This is the account. We have been with Chase for 27 years. This is the account number, the routing number, etc. So if you route it in, we will give the receipt. There'll be paperwork saying they routed it in, the money is in with us, and then we will also show it when we route it to the title company. We share all the closing documents, everything. We believe in total transparency. So they will get the receipt that it's gotten, Then they will see the money that's been moved to title, and then they will get the closing document itself and see where every single penny was spent.
And you won't be involved in this transaction. That would have been Dr. Ishnella closing the deal, but just want you to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're proposing, that there will be 2 live events, and there's been a lot of moving pieces, and we've been moving quick and doing something that's never been done first, so please give us some grace.
Yeah.
But here's our intent. After talking to Dr. Ishnella, we'll have this decision made on the event planning. That's to be done by Friday, I believe, at 6 p.m. And then there would be an Atlanta event on the 17th and the 18th.
Yeah.
And having gotten information from some of you who have worked, I heard this from several people. The Houston people said the same thing that the Atlanta people said. Don't mix them in the same room, the high rollers and the 57.5 people. They don't like to be mixed, so they won't. And we heard that from all of you. So that's been accommodated. And so Atlanta, the 17th, and this information will be sent to you in writing. You can invite them. Maybe they want to fly in. Dr. Ishnella is going to be even doing a presentation of this sort, but there's going to be drilled down for more savvy, investors. And then on the 24th, so the Houston people will have less time to process. We're doing some aggressive dates for Atlanta because they're in their own backyard, but we want to have them to gather millions, and we know that they need some time. So they're 17th, 18th, and that's that Monday is the Martin Luther King holiday, so we're sensitive to that. But the 17th and 18th, and then the 24th and 25th would be San Antonio, and you can expect that the first
I think
day
Houston.
Houston. What did I say?
San Antonio.
Oh, Lord. I went back to San Antonio. Houston. You can expect that you would be inviting the high rollers to a light lunch in a high-end type of venue, looking at private business clubs, 5-star hotels, etc. And then a networking event for lay people wanting to get started, and it would be hors d'oeuvres and limited cocktails. We don't want anybody excessively drinking, of course. And then they would be privileged to this presentation as well. And
let me say a couple things. So
yes.
I'm going to host, Sandra had a really good idea. I'll host twice a week Zoom calls. So if any of your investors want to ask Q&A, want to have some interaction, want to understand a little bit more, I think, Sandra, you had decided which days.
Yeah, we said Thursdays and Saturday. And we'll post that schedule so you can automatically invite them to a Zoom call if they, don't have to wait to the live event. And again, let me stress that you invite them to the Zoom, they invest, you are paid.
Yes, let me know who you invite. And I will have a list of everybody's emails or contacts or their names. And again, I can float that to you guys and you just say, hey, this one's mine. So I don't want there to be I want you guys to get paid because that means future business down the road together. The other thing is too, I'm going to buy a significant portion of this property myself. So just because your people don't get in, your individuals that you brought in don't get their money in time, I will have some small percent that I can sell them after the fact because I would have bought that extra. So the Houston people, if y'all are like, oh, well, it's not going to be enough time, still do it because I can sell them the extra that I bought.
Any other questions? Any other thoughts? anything.
One last thing, the 1/8%. Everybody thinks that this has to be, it's much easier to get the high rollers because they know that they would rather have their money work for them as opposed to using their hands and having to work for every penny. So when you can do passive income and have your money make you money, that's the smartest, easiest way in life to have that money rolling in. But everybody can invest. You get 5 people together. They each throw in $12,000. You go on LegalZoom, you spend 2 hours forming an LLC. Boom, they get to be investors because they've met that 57.5. So it's actually open to all human beings to do this, but most people think that they can't.
Any other thoughts? Are your wheels turning? What are you feeling about this opportunity now, having been exposed to the information? Love some thoughts and feedback. What are you feeling?
I'll share. I think for me, what was important was to understand the complexity or the decomplexity of the deal so that we'd understand what the flow really looked like. So for those savvy investors that we're encountering, you know, and I've got a battery of questions I've got to answer without a lot of response time to gather those answers. And then you've got some investors that are just excited about it and they're really they're riding on the reputation that I bring to the table. I think it's important for me to be very careful with how I invite individuals because of the trust factor that I've established. And so I want to make sure I'm real clear about this and how, quite frankly, you know, how directly, and I think Dr. Steen spoke to this, how directly you associate with an opportunity that you're bringing your colleagues to. And so that was important for me. So I'll tell you, those were some of the things that I wanted to clarify, and you were able to do that. And if I have more questions, I will certainly, I'll lift them up.
Please, and contact me for anything at any time. Every single investor of mine, all of my tenants, all my property, hell, half my vendors, they all have my cell phone. I've got 7,000 contacts in my phone because everybody has my cell phone. I'm available 24/7.
And we're also trying to manage some of that. That's been part of my coaching
Oh, and
to
Sandra,
help downsize some of that. We've been working on it for a
I
couple
know.
years.
I want to toot Sandra's horn. When I met her, I was a closed book. She had to pry me open. I wanted to learn, but I fought it a little bit. And when she got through to me and I realized how God-centered and true to her word and her teaching was for me, in 1 year, I grew my company by 32%. And that is only because of Sandra and her teachings to me. And I realized that if I could do this with her help, I really wanted to give something back and build something with her. And that is why when I found this opportunity, I was like, girl, we got to do this together. It's time.
Yes. Anybody else? What are you feeling? Honest, transparent? If you're feeling like, yeah, what are you feeling? We want to hear it.
I second what Kara said. For me, Dr. Steen, I wanted to definitely see the transparency, the numbers, and just the factual data that was presented. I like the straightforward approach, and for me, I'm comfortable. So I'm ready to roll with this, and yeah, it's good.
And she's a no nonsense doubter. so
True.
so that was a real compliment, and I'm just helping you to know it was, because I know Monsi, and she's a straight shooter. She'll tell you if she had some concerns. Dr. Johnny,
Thank
anything
you,
on your
Monsi.
mind? How you feeling?
No, I echo what's been said. I'm excited. One, I know you and I trust you, and I love what Dr. Ish, your style and your transparency, your vulnerability, and laying things out the way you have, and the questions that you've entertained, we've shared. Again, thank you for making this opportunity available. to us, to our community, African American community. And so I'm excited thinking through the different investors that I know in Atlanta and outside of Atlanta, that I think this is an amazing opportunity. And even for myself, just the things that now you've laid out the way you have, just thinking through, okay, talking to my wife and just exploring what that may mean for us in terms of getting being a part of something like this. So thank you.
My pleasure.
I need to run. I need to go to another meeting, but I'm glad Sandra, Dr. Sandra, thank you for inviting me to this. Thank you for all that are on the line, all the ladies, and this is a great opportunity, and I'm excited about where this is going.
Thank you, Dr. Johnny. He's a busy man, and he's got a who's who list. And in addition to being a professor at Johns Hopkins University, very prestigious. So, Dr. Johnny, thank you again for
Thank you,
just
Dr.
coming.
Parker. I
Okay,
appreciate
take
it.
What
care.
an amazing, this man is such an amazing communicator. I learn from him every day. Thank you again.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, Anita, and then anybody else? We haven't heard from you. Thoughts, feelings, anything?
Yes, Dr. Steen, I am excited about the opportunity. Dr. Ish, I like that the the malls itself have big box stores as anchors. But I like that you are not a big box investment company.
Yeah.
So that dichotomy is good for me. I like the idea that it's a boutique and it's more personable,
Yeah.
because what I see is this is legacy. This is legacy building. And I like that you have the 80-year-olds and then the 50-year-olds, and now their children are coming. So I see the trend of legacy. That's what's important to me.
Beautiful. Dr. Lori, any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ish and Sandra. I really like the transparency, and one thing that you said to me that really was meaningful, you said to us rather, was that your word is your bond. And I got that from my parents growing up. And because if you don't have respect that your word is your bond, you don't have anything, because your name is worth more than money a lot of times, so I can really appreciate that. I can appreciate the generational wealth opportunity. I do have some people that are high net worth individuals who are already in real estate, and I know some of the questions that I would be asked that I wasn't prepared for, but this presentation does answer those questions. And I would have to be letting them know ahead of time all of your credentials before submitting their information to you. So they are people that are in, the real estate. Their families are in real estate. And these are individuals I think that would really be very interested in this, as well as the professionals who would want to come in on that 1/8% that I know. So I just like the fact that you're trying to open this opportunity and make it inclusive. And that is really something that matters to me as well, for everybody, because when you start talking about real estate investment, like you said, most people feel like they can't even, play the game or get in the game. So I appreciate the fact that you're making this an inclusive opportunity, and that you're making it specifically for people of color. So I thank you for that opportunity. I'm in Atlanta, and I was also pleased to hear that, even though this opportunity is in the Atlanta area, you still would look at investors from other places as well. So
I got people from all over the country investing in this.
Yeah.
And absolutely, it is all about inclusion, and inclusion in everything, including and most especially wealth and wealth equality and wealth transition to the next generation.
And to that point, we had this conversation 2 years ago, and she stayed true to her word, because she called me to say, I think this is it.
Yeah.
even though we
Yes,
talked about it 2 years ago, and she thought it was a great idea and it's passion, heart, but now you're walking the talk. So,
especially for us minority women, we have to start taking our power financially. And I don't see anybody giving it to us. So if we can band together and do it together, if we make women rich, they don't have a boot on their neck. They have total freedom to do what they want. Their children get educated. It's healthier families. They have retirements. Their children, it is just a better life for their entire families. So my passion is making women of diversity wealthy.
yes. And in conclusion, I say let's do this with fun and ease.
Yes.
Dr.
Because,
Sandra?
I did have
yes,
one more question. I'm sorry. I
go
don't know.
ahead.
You had
Carolyn,
mentioned that
go ahead, Dr. Lori.
you had mentioned Ish, that you were going to do some Zoom calls.
Yes.
When had you identified particular dates for those?
Every Thursday and every Saturday. If you
Yeah,
guys
and
tell me the time you want me to do
so
it.
so you guys can know my role here is to kind of help offset the coordination of that. So if you're coordinating with me, I'll coordinate with her.
Okay.
We want to make sure that because she's got a lot of things that she's got to handle. So I'll be getting that information to you, and you know, they have retained me as a consultant to
Good.
help manage this whole thing. And so that's some things
Thankfully.
that we will be working.
Yeah, I had to make a one-day trip here to St. Louis. I commandeered a conference room here at the Four Seasons so I could have this. Then I got to jump on another meeting in like 20 minutes. And then I'm back to Houston.
Yeah, so that's part of my role in being here is to help coordinate, and so she can really be free to do what she does, and that's closing the deals for the investment opportunity and a lot of this
But
other stuff. I'm working with her staff and making sure that we take care of all the back end stuff that you need. So you can feel free to coordinate with me, and I'll make sure that it happens.
and I will give as much of my time as humanly possible to Sandra for y'all. So rest assured, if you have needs, they will be met.
Yes. We'll coordinate that because we want her to stay healthy and well. And I kind of know the back end, so she knows as her coach, I'm coaching
Yeah.
some aspects of that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we
She
can
knows my dad. She knows my whole family.
yes. And we coach all of them. So we're gonna make this fun. I want everybody to have a good time doing this and feel good about what we're doing for the future. And then look down and you see a ACH transfer this come. She will do that herself. She likes to do it herself. But I want you to see that in your bank account and feel good about this whole partnership.
Yeah,
Dr.
I
Sandra?
actually will personally do it. That's what I do half that day is I close and the rest of the time I'm sending out ACHs.
I
All
love the
right.
gratification of it.
Yeah, that's one thing I haven't gotten her to stop, but she loves that. So that's wonderful. She likes paying people.
I
All
do,
right.
because it means I grow.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Ishnella, thanks again. Wonderful job just giving us your time and expertise.
Thank you.
Anything else before we dismiss? Everything's been recorded, so we can refer to this as well. And I'll ask Anita if she'll help me.
Dr. Sandra?
Carolyn, I'm sorry, did I miss your question?
No, I just wanted to comment. I just
Go
want to
ahead,
say that
please. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate this presentation. So I long story short, I expressed some concerns to Anita because I've gone to some stuff in the past and whatever has happened, but I don't feel that way listening to this presentation.
Oh,
It
good.
sounds very as you mentioned, Dr. Ish, the transparency, um, the forthrightness, it seems like this would be, a great a great opportunity for anyone that is open.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that not only myself personally, but other people that I know um, that would like to take advantage of this. I think this is a great opportunity. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for
Thank you,
giving me your
Carolyn.
blessing.
Thank you for making sure that we got your comment, because that's an important comment.
Right.
And I just want to say thank you for all of you for the positiveness. It's real, and I want you to be real in terms of any concerns. But I thank you for the positiveness, because I'm big on that, and Dr. Ishnella knows that I coach on that. And I want to make sure that we all feel that there's an atmosphere where you can say what needs to be said, but it's done with so much respect and love that we're all growing.
Yeah, I think God put us here on this earth to support each other, to uplift
Yes.
each other, and to band together to make each other stronger.
Yes, yes. So in the final analysis, I just decree and declare that, Lord, that we go forth from this point knowing that the wealth transfers in action. I decree and declare that there will be wealth transfers into the bank accounts of those that are under the sound of my voice. I decree and declare that every person that needs to be at the table will be at the table, and they'll come with excitement. I declare and decree that this will be done with fun and ease, and that this will be a year to remember financially. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.